Let me be honest with you. You remembered to schedule the dentist appointment. You ordered the birthday gift for his mother. You filled out the permission slip forms, texted the babysitter, restocked the pantry, and had dinner planned all before you got out of bed this morning. And then he looks at you and says, "What did you even do all day today?" And you want to say everything, but instead you go quiet because you don't have the energy for another fight. And honestly, you don't even know how to explain something he can't see. If that hit a little bit close to home, this one's for you. Today, we're talking about the mental load, what it actually is, why your husband genuinely might not see it. And this is the part I really want to get to, how to actually have a conversation about it that actually moves something forward without nagging, without fighting, without you feeling like the bad guy. So stick with me because I think this one is going to change a few conversations in your home. All right, let's talk about what the mental load actually is, because I want to be precise here. This is not about who does what, who does more chores. This is not a chore chart debate. This is something much, much deeper and harder to see. The mental load is the invisible cognitive work of managing a household and a family. It's the planning, the anticipating, the tracking, the remembering. It's knowing your daughter's cleats need replacing before the first practice. Knowing your son's best friend is allergic to peanuts, so when they plan the birthday party, you can plan around it. Tracking when the car is due for an oil change or a tire rotation. When the pediatrician appointment needs to be rescheduled. When the bill is coming up in 2 weeks and the account needs to be ready. No one asked you to do any of that. It just lives in your head all of the time. There's a researcher named Eve Rodsky. She wrote an entire book on this and she calls it cognitive labor, the thinking that has to happen before any task can even be started. And most of the time, women carry mostly all of it. And I want to say this very clearly before we go any further. The mental load is real, it's legitimate, and it is exhausting. And you're not being dramatic for feeling overwhelmed by it, not even a little bit. Why he can't see it. Now, here's the part I need you to hear before we go any further. When your husband doesn't acknowledge the mental load, when he says, "What did you even do all day today?" I want to offer you a different lens on that. Most of the time, he's not being cruel. He's just being unaware. And there is a massive difference between those two things. Here's what I know about the invisible labor. If it's done well, it is invisible. The appointment gets made, the form gets submitted, the dinner gets planned, the pantry gets restocked. And because you're so good at holding all of it, because it happens so seamlessly, he doesn't see the labor. He just sees the results. It's a little like the lights in your house. You don't think about the electrical system. You don't think about the circuit breaker or the power lines or the maintenance schedule. You just flip on the switch and the room is lit. You only notice the system when the lights go out. That's what the mental load looks like to someone who's never really had to carry it. They are living in a well-lit room and they never once had to ask why. And here's where it gets complicated. You cannot show someone what they have never had to see. That's why the conversation is so hard. That's why nagging doesn't work. It never has, but I want to explain why, because understanding the why is what's going to help you do it differently. Why nagging backfires? I need you to sit here for a second, because this might sting a little bit, but in the best way. When we are exhausted and overwhelmed and we're feeling unheard, we communicate from that overwhelm. We say things like, "You never help, you never notice, I have to do everything." And listen, those feelings are completely valid. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong, but I am going to tell you that that approach doesn't work and you can find something, so we can find something that does. When someone hears "you never" or "you always," the brain goes into a defense mode immediately. The conversation is no longer about the mental load. It's about whether or not he's a good husband, a good father, and a good person. And now he's defending his character instead of listening to your need. It's not a communication failure on your part. That is brain chemistry, and it happens to all of us. So here's the other thing. When nagging becomes the pattern, when nothing he does feels like enough, eventually a person stops trying. Not because he doesn't care, but because it feels like he can never win. And when someone believes it can never win, they disengage. That is human nature. And if we want a partner, not a project, we have to approach this differently. We can have this conversation in a way that actually lands, in a way that invites him into the partnership instead of putting him on trial. And it starts with a completely different framework. Before I walk you through the framework, I want to tell you about something that I put together specifically for this conversation. It's called the Mental Load Conversation Starter Kit. It gives you the exact phrases, prompts, and conversation openers to use when you're ready to talk to your husband about this. Starters that are calm, clear, and non-confrontational, even when you're feeling anything but. The link is in the description below. Go grab it before you finish watching because you're going to want it on hand for the next few minutes. All right, framework time. The framework: see it, say it, share it. I call the framework see it, say it, share it. 3 steps, simple on purpose because you're already carrying a full mental load. You don't need a 12-step process. You need something that you can actually do. Step 1, before you can share the load, we have to make the invisible visible together. Here's what I want you to try. Sit down, not in a heated moment, not at the end of a long, exhausting day, but on a quiet evening or a Saturday morning, and do what I call a brain dump date. Just the two of you, and say, I want to show you everything that's living rent-free in my head. Write it down. Every reoccurring task, every standing appointment, everything that you currently are tracking and managing, the insurance renewals, the teacher conference schedule, the birthday calendar, the prescription refills, the social commitments, all of it. Not to shame him, not to throw him under the bus, but to make it real, to let him see, maybe for the first time, what is actually in there. Because you cannot ask someone to share a load they've never seen. Step 2, say it. This is where the language matters enormously. There is a difference between you never help me with anything and I've been carrying a lot of the coordination for our family and I'm starting to feel really overwhelmed. Can we figure this out together? One sentence puts him on trial and one sentence invites him to the table. Notice something about the second one. I'm not asking him to validate your feelings first. It's moving toward a solution. That is disarming. That is partnership language. And the mental load conversation starter kit has specific phrases built around this because I know it is so hard to find the right words when you're in the emotions of all of it. Those starters do the heavy lifting for you. Step 3, share it. This is the actual redistribution piece and it requires specificity. Vague requests don't work. Help me more doesn't work because he doesn't know what's on your plate. Remember, you have to show him first. So once he's seen the full picture, you get to have a real conversation about ownership, not about helping, but about ownership. Here's the big difference between can you help me with the kids' doctor's appointments and can you own the doctor's appointments? That means scheduling them, tracking the reminders, and taking them when you're able. Ownership means it lives in his head too, not just the doing, but the managing. Yes, it takes time to build, but this is how the load actually shifts. Not by asking for help every single time, but by redistributing what belongs to whom. Let me give you some of these real life so you can see what they actually sound like. Opener 1, the invitation. I've been feeling a little stretched thin lately and I want to share something with you. Not to complain, but because I want us to feel like a team. But can we carve out 20 minutes this week so we can look at it together? It's not nagging, it's an invitation. Opener 2, in the moment. Hey, I need a minute. My head is really full right now. Can I walk you through what I'm managing so we can figure out what makes sense for you to take on? No blame, no accusation, just honesty and an open door for partnership. Opener 3, when he gets defensive. I'm not saying you're not doing enough. I'm saying I'm carrying something invisible that I want to make visible. I'm not coming at you with a complaint. I'm coming to you with a problem I want us to solve together. That's the reframe. It's one of the most powerful things that you can say because it signals you are not my opponent. You are my partner. And I need you to hear me when I say this. He is not your enemy. The mental load is the problem. You and him are on the same team. Write that somewhere. Put it on a sticky note. Screenshot it. Because in the hard moments, when you're exhausted and frustrated and running on nothing, it is so easy to forget. The word together carries weight, doesn't it? Because it changes the entire posture of the conversation. It's no longer you versus him. It's both of you versus the problem. That's the shift. And that's the one that opens the door. I want to sit here for a second before we close, because I know some of you are in marriages where this conversation feels really risky, where the dynamic is more complicated than what I've described today, where you've tried to speak up before and it didn't go well or it went worse than you expected. And I don't want to gloss over that. Proverbs 3:27 says, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. I believe that verse applies to how we love our spouses, but I also believe it applies to how we advocate for ourselves within our marriages. You are allowed to name what is real. You're allowed to ask for what you need. That is not a weakness, that's wisdom. Marriage was never designed to be one person carrying everything in silence while the other moves through the world unburdened. That is not the partnership that God designed. I believe He designed marriage for full partnership, the kind that takes both people leaning in, both people seeing each other, both people willing to say, I don't know, show me and let me help carry it. So if you've been real quiet for a long time, it might be time to speak up, not from anger, not from accusation, but from a place that I love this marriage. I love you and I want us to thrive. I need us to see something together. That is a holy conversation and I believe the Lord goes before it. Okay, before you close out, will you do one thing for me? Go and grab the mental load conversation starter kit in the description below. It has the exact phrases and the conversation openers that we talked about today formatted so you can actually use them with your husband. No guessing for the right words. I've done that hard part for you. And if this video helped you, would you share it? Text it to a friend, send it in a group chat, because I promise you, she needs it too. You are not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're carrying something real, and you do not have to carry it alone. I'll see you in the next video. I love you guys. Bye.